Hi, I'm Kalynn Amadio, your Boomer host and creator of the Boomer's Ultimate Guide podcast. And I want to introduce you to today's special guest, Danielle Kunkel. She is a Medicare expert, an author, and a speaker. Danielle has helped thousands of beneficiaries across the nation to survive the intimidating Medicare enrollment process and nail down the basics of Medicare. Danielle enjoys clearing up the Medicare mystery for overwhelmed baby boomers. And I'm sure that's a huge task because it is a huge mystery and there are a lot of us. And we're rapidly all going into Medicare. She is the co-founder of Boomer Benefits, which is an insurance agency that specializes in Medicare plans and can explain the parts of Medicare in terms that are easy to understand. She can also offer great tips for avoiding Medicare insurance pitfalls or spending too much on coverage that you don't really need. Danielle shares her expertise to answer a number of Medicare insurance questions like what Medicare costs to plan for during your retirement, or how to enroll in Medicare and what to expect from the base coverage that's offered to you, or again, how to compare the types of supplements available and choose the one that best fits your lifestyle and budget. And there are at least 100 more questions that she could help you answer. And that's what we're going to do today during our interview. Danielle, welcome to the Boomer's Ultimate Guide podcast.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm glad that you could make time for us today. Really appreciate it. So just tell us, I gave people, a brief overview about you and what you do and who you are, but can you just expand on that a little bit for everyone?
Sure, you bet. We actually started this health insurance agency back in 2005 here in Texas, and at the time we did a lot of individual health insurance, group insurance, we did disability and all sorts of things under a general life and health license. But one of the things that we ran into very early is a lot of the people that we were helping with individual health insurance were asking questions about their parents. Hi, my dad's just become eligible for Medicare. Do you know anything about that? And after the question came up 5 or 6 times, I thought, well, let's go ahead and look into that, see if we can help out these clients with their parents. And what we figured out was that Medicare is massively confusing. You go from being on group insurance your whole life where you've got 1 or 2 options, and then suddenly you get this book in the mail that has Medicare A, B, C, and D, and a bunch of different Medigap options, and a bunch of letters and parts. And you're supposed to be able to just figure that out by reading this 200-page government book. So we set out to learn about Medicare and learn it backwards and forwards. And over time, our agency grew to be really specializing in Medicare. And we do just a little bit of individual insurance for people under 65, but about 90% of our clients here are Medicare beneficiaries. We're now in about 40 states. And that's continuing to grow because we have so many boomers aging into Medicare. We've been able to actually build this company around helping them understand Medicare and the insurance that goes with it.
And that's fantastic. And, I'm a very young boomer, so I just turned 51. So I'm not quite there yet, and worried about the whole Medicare thing.
Sure.
But everything that you were talking about is absolute Greek to me. And just the thought of having to read about it and figure it out is another one of those things that knowing myself, I'm going to put it on the back burner because I don't want to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense right away. I can't imagine. And there are millions and millions and millions of boomers that you can be helping. How do you find working with boomers to be different, if it is?
It is because this is a group of people, a generation of people that have been in the workforce a long time. They're very well known for their work ethic, their honesty. They're smart people. And we find all the time that these people come in and they face Medicare and they're just utterly confused. So you're working with people who are used to being able to figure things out for themselves, and faced with this one government program, just get totally discombobulated trying to figure out what to do. So what the neat thing about working with the people is they're so appreciative, just a great generation of people, and you're able to shine some light on something that's hard for them, and it makes it a great job to come in and work at every day.
Terrific. I love that. I love that description of the boomer generation. Not that I want to pat myself on the back, but you do describe, the people that I have worked with and worked for my entire life. Yeah. So I agree with you totally on that description. So can you share with us your top 3 tips for boomers regarding this whole, Medicare? I don't want to put a negative spin on it, calling it an issue or problem, but it's a thing, that we have to deal with. So what are your top 3 tips to help us navigate through this?
So the first thing would be prior to when you turn 64 and a half, and which is kind of when the deluge of mail and solicitations and letters come in, spend a couple of hours, maybe a couple of Saturdays, doing a little bit of reading online. What you'll find is that the information at first is confusing, but it's very repetitive because this is a federal program, so it can't really change too much outside of the base insurance on original Medicare. So if you do a little bit of reading on Medicare's website, they have a great website, medicare.gov, with tons of information. Educate yourself first on the basic Medicare. Set the insurance stuff off to the side and just figure out what those base benefits are that you're provided with. And in doing so, would lead you to the second point, which is you need to understand the cost. We have fixed incomes that we're going to be living on, people trying to decide when they're going to retire, lots of people working past age 65 these days, and there's a common misconception that Medicare is free because you've been paying Medicare taxes your whole life. Well, only one part of that is paid up. There's other costs associated with it, and so you're really going to need to have a few $100s a month set aside during retirement for your...
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, for your Medicare. So it's good to get an idea of what those are up front so that you can decide if you need to do additional savings before that time. And then the last tip that I would give would be, and of course I'm sure you would expect me to say this, but consult with an insurance agent. Yeah. However, I really do find that this is one piece of insurance that you really do need an expert. So you can actually go to your home state's Department of Insurance and usually find a list of agents there and what they specialize in. And it's good to talk with a health insurance agent who might be able to sit down with you for an hour and walk you through the basics. You will find that that is one of the things that will make everything so much easier because all of the Medicare language is very confusing. When you're reading Medicare's site, Medicare's books, we don't know what these terms are, like co-insurance and beneficiary. Those are confusing terms. So if you sit down with someone that can help you put that into layman's terms, you'll find yourself so much further ahead. I'd like to tell a story about a gentleman that came in a few years ago to see us here at our agency in Fort Worth. And he was an aerospace engineer working for a big company here that has contracts with the federal government. And he walked in and he brought his Medicare.gov handbook and sat down and threw it on the table and said, I really consider myself a very smart person. I work on some of the most amazing fighter jets in the world. And I read that book, and I am a dumber person for having read it. And so if someone that brilliant can get confused by Medicare, it's good to know that at the end of that meeting, he understood what was going on because we just simplified it. So find an expert that you can talk to make those things easier. Write down your list of questions when you're doing your internet research ahead of time. So when you have a point that confuses you, you can bring that to someone who's more familiar.
That sounds good. And it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, boomers, you have been dealing with the federal government for a very long time. So if you've ever tried to do your own taxes or you've ever tried to navigate any of these other government programs, you know good and well that reading the book is not going to make it clear at all in any way to you. That's why you need an expert. And I'm sure that the government does that to us on purpose.
I'm sure.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's, we've all been there. We have all absolutely been there.
That's right.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge or concern that boomers have regarding Medicare?
I would say, beyond just understanding Medicare in the beginning, the biggest challenge that they have is determining the suitability of supplemental insurance. they're used to having maybe two choices. We're at a group job, and we have this plan with a $2,000 deductible. It's HMO, or you could pay a little more and have this $1,000 deductible PPO, and you're making a choice between two things. Right. Trying to make a choice between so many more things is very confusing, and there are options such as Medigap, Medicare Advantage, and Part D. And so determining which of those pieces is right for you is really very personal. It has to do with how much money you have to spend, of course, on your insurance, but also what your health conditions are when you're coming into the plan.
Okay.
For instance, if you have someone undergoing some serious treatment, they may opt for a Medigap plan with a little fuller coverage and a wider network. Other people their biggest challenge may be that they're living on Social Security and they have very little to spend. They're trying to find the plan that's going to fit them. And the good news is that there really is something with Medicare plans for everyone in terms of budget. We have plans in the market with premiums as low as nothing. Then we have ones where you're going to be spending quite a bit more. The biggest challenge is trying to determine or project for your healthcare needs in retirement which one of those options is going to be the right fit for you.
And just as an additional question, as you go down the road, let's say you've made some of these decisions. I've worked with you and I've made some of these decisions and everything's right now, but 5 years from now, things have changed. Can you make changes to all of this?
Yeah, you sure can. There's a couple things that you can always make changes to, and we have an enrollment period with the federal government, which we're in right now. It starts October 15th every year and runs through December 7th. And that's the time when you can make changes to your Part D drug plan, which is just a pharmacy card that you use, gives you copays on prescriptions. Mm-hmm. You can also make changes to Medicare Advantage plans, which are private Medicare plans where you use a network of doctors and hospitals to get your care. Those you can change once a year, and there's very little health underwriting. Almost everyone can find a plan. The one question on those applications is whether you have end-stage renal failure, which is kidney disease, you're on dialysis, or awaiting a transplant. As long as you don't have that, you're going to be eligible to sign up once a year during that enrollment period to get some coverage.
Okay.
If you have more need for more full coverage and you're on a Medigap plan, those you have sort of a one-time window when you first turn 65 to get any plan you want, and they can't exclude you for any health reasons. After that point, if you want to change from one carrier to another, you're going to go through underwriting on a health application, answer some questions about your health conditions and history, and then you may or may not be approved by another company. And so there you find the reason for really learning about those plans up front, because if you have a chronic health condition, let's say that you were treating for lymphoma and you wanted to be able to use the best hospital that you can find, you're going to want to have one type of insurance, Medigap, as opposed to one that limits you to a smaller local network. So that early research is what will really help you determine, okay, I need to pick a plan, and here's the ones I know I can change, here's the ones I can't, so let me make a good decision up front.
Wow. I had no idea how complicated it was. I mean, I should have guessed it was really complicated, but now I'm really starting to see it, and why you need to do the research up front and why you need someone to explain it all to you so that moving forward you're in the most optimum place you can be, given you don't know what the future holds. None of us know what the future holds, but as long as you give yourself the best leg up that you can now, so that hopefully you've got exactly what you need later on. That's very interesting. So what would you tell boomers who are listening to this interview to do right now? What would you have them stand up, get out of their car, get up and step away from the computer for a moment? I know we all love our computers, but step away and do something to help yourself out with Medicare. What can they be doing now? Okay.
So 2 age groups. We have people that are boomers like yourself that are ways out from Medicare, and then we have boomers that have been aging to Medicare the last couple of years. For those people that are on Medicare already or becoming eligible for Medicare here in the next few months, we've just entered the annual election period. That's the time when you can make changes to your drug plan or advantage plan like we mentioned. It's very important that in September every year, you will get a packet from your insurance company that handles your Part D or your Medicare Advantage plan. That package is called an annual notice of change. And like all the other Medicare mail that we get, this thing comes in and it is a big doorstopper of a packet. And it's intimidating people tend to throw it on the kitchen table and forget about it until January, and that's not a good idea.
And it's too late then.
It is too late.
Okay.
So you need to take that packet out and sit down. Don't be intimidated by the size of it, because there's just a little letter that comes on top of all the things underneath. That's really the piece that you need to be looking at. It's going to tell you on your drug plan or your Advantage plan what the premium is this year and what the premium is going to be next year. More importantly, it's going to tell you any drugs on the formulary that it's dropping or changing tiers. So if you happen to be on an expensive medication and it's being covered fine on your plan right now, and then you get this notice and it says that next year they're not going to offer that, you really need to change your plan during that annual election period to have one that's going to give you that medicine for next year. And so many people every year, our phones blow up in January. People calling frantically. They've now gone online trying to find an expert, and they're saying, well, I have this drug and it costs $400 a month and it's not covered anymore. What can I do? You can wait until the next annual election period to change, or you can contact the drug plan and try to get it covered under an exception. But regardless, it's going to be expensive. So if you're on Medicare already, you definitely need to do your research on your letter in September. Then you've got a period of time where you can either go on Medicare.gov yourself and punch your prescriptions in and have the website do an analysis of which drug plan will be better for you next year, or talk to an expert who can do it for you. And so that's what I would advise for people that are already on Medicare now.
Interesting. And, you know, you're thinking about this, I wonder if it wouldn't be a good idea also to have your children who are old enough to also understand this, so that as you age, they understand that September is an important time to look at what you've got going on. You know, someone, you know, besides you or your spouse, to give you a little reminder, hey, you need to be doing this.
Yeah.
Right? Set yourself up for success in the beginning. Put some things in place.
Yeah, and if you have an adult child that helps you with these kinds of decisions, I would also advise, when you're actually getting ready to meet with an insurance agent or call 1-800-MEDICARE and deal with someone there, to have that person on the line with you or sitting next to you to help you understand some things, the concepts maybe that you're a little worried, are you going to be able to understand? Have a second person there that's going to be hearing that same information and help you remember it from year to year. Also, in this industry, you have lots of really good agents like myself and my staff here who truly care about helping you and helping you understand your insurance. But there is a small element in lots of industries where there's money to be had of people out there who may be more interested in what's going to put money in their pocket as opposed to what's good for you. So I think it helps a lot of times on these decisions if you've got someone in your family that you trust that can be listening with you and deciding whether what's being recommended is truly the best for you. That's so helpful, and it's going to make you sleep better at night, that your special someone, your child or whoever, has helped you with that decision-making process. It's a great thing to start early and just have that person sit in with you every year for the half an hour or so that it takes to make this decision annually.
And you know what? Not only is it a good idea for you, the boomer, but you're also passing on knowledge to them so that when their time comes, if Medicare is still around, they're much more able to navigate this whole thing than maybe you were when it was time for you to do it. So you're passing on a good legacy for them too.
Of course, you absolutely are.
Yeah. So what is the best way for listeners to get in contact with you?
You can find us online on the web. We are at www.boomerbenefits.com. Our website has several hundred pages of information that we have written in layman's terms for people to help them understand the parts of Medicare. There's videos if you're a video learner. There's reading. There's a learning track that you can start and follow through. That's a wonderful way to get some of the reading done. And then if you'd like to speak with someone, you can contact us via the website, or you can call us toll-free. That number is 866-452-8686.
Perfect. So we will put this contact information in the show notes for those of you listening. Okay. If you're worried about you didn't get that written down, don't worry. You can always go back to the website at boomersultimateguidepodcast.com, search out Danielle in the search bar there and find this interview and find the link to her website, boomerbenefits.com, and that 800 number if you want to talk to someone directly. So don't let that worry you. Now, before I let you go, I always ask my guests if they would like to share an inspirational quote or a brief story, something to leave us with before they go.
I would say we're so lucky here at this agency to work with a wonderful group of people. I feel like after all these years, some of the same clients that are with us year and year and year in and out, one of the cool things that working with this business is that you get to see so much life. Coming into your retirement is a really exciting time, and you may be looking at spending time with your family, spending time with your children. You're going to get to go and achieve all of the things that you want to do. And this little piece, the Medicare piece, is such a small blip. Don't put too much emphasis on it. You're going to meet with someone or figure it out, and then you're going to get to set aside and really enjoy all the things that retirement is all about. So if I can leave you with anything, I would like to say that it's not an insurmountable task to understand Medicare. It's a very small piece that you'll have to deal with just once a year for a little bit. And then you can set aside and do all the things in your retirement years that are really much more exciting and fun than learning Medicare.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Danielle Kunkel, for spending time with us today. Danielle from boomerbenefits.com. You can find her online. And for those of you out there who are listening or watching, I greatly appreciate your time. You're watching the Boomers Ultimate Guide podcast. And until next time, take care.
Thank you.
You've been watching Boomers Ultimate Guide TV, the place where baby boomers like me and like you can come together to learn, share, and grow a thriving business and vibrant life. See you next time.